So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night. Whenever I find you, this is Cheryl Nelson again from Sarah's Daughters of Faith. I just want to thank you on this third day, March the 3rd. Yes, the first recording was done on March the 1st. It's a new endeavor of mine. And I just wanted to encourage my sisters in the faith, my mothers in the faith. Yes, my daughters in the faith. So, the context of this time, talking about Sarah, is really talking to daughters of God, those of us who are born again and born of the Spirit. And we're just seeking to be obedient to what God has called us to be, who He's called us to be, and who He's called us to walk with. And that's important because you can't walk with everybody. You're born into a relationship. Yes, you're born into a family. And as I said, my journey has been interesting and shaped as a life of faith. Everybody can say that, but I'm just saying that Sarah became a very important and serious woman of the word, woman of the Bible to me as I started walking more so with my husband. Yes, my husband Anthony, for from the very beginning, because the Lord pointed out to me that I needed to really embrace Sarah. And so I started on a journey. And in the verse that spoke to me first, interesting enough, was Isaiah 51, verse 2, where it says, Look to Abraham. I'm just turning to it because I've said it a lot of times, but I just want to read it. Listen to me, you who pursue righteousness, you who seek the Lord. Look to the rock from which you were cut and to the quarry from which you were dug. Interesting enough, as I'm reading that, what comes to mind is that we have been created initially in the image of God, because God said, Let there be. And then He said, Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. So I came to this passage, and bam, verse 2 just spoke. Look to Abraham, your father, and to Sarah, who gave birth to you. When I called him, he was only one. I blessed him and made him many. Now, in the context of this passage, this is Isaiah speaking and prophesying to Israel. And remember, they were going through a lot. And God was just bringing a word to them in their situation of walking away from Him, of being in captivity, of having to walk out certain things. Yes. And so He was talking to the Israelites who were the immediate descendants, original descendants of Abraham that the Lord spoke to. So I'm just going into where it all began for Sarah. The first time you hear her name mentioned, is in Genesis chapter 11, verse 29. Abram and Nahor took wives. Abram's wife was named Sarai, and Nahor's wife was named Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was unable to conceive. She did not have a child. Wow. That was my entrance after meeting her in that verse. And so I looked through the word and I started just searching for the different ones. And I'm into it. But the basics for me is my life of right from the very beginning was one of, okay, when Anthony and I started in a relationship, we were friends. We were part of an active drama group at church. He was not really one of my friends. Yeah, we did drama together, went to the same church together. But the type of person that he was, you talked to him and that was it. I never saw Anthony being my life's partner, and I'm sure glad that God did. And so my life has been one of faith. So when we started, when he approached me and said, okay, I want us to talk some more, I was a bit skeptical initially, but with God's leading, and I'm very serious. I had a roommate at the time, and I shared it with her, and she's like, Cheryl, what's your problem? That should be okay for you. You're not seeing anybody. He's a nice guy. She got to meet him. He's a nice guy, and invited him over for a meal at my apartment. I was sharing an apartment with a girlfriend at the time working, and it was interesting. We had a meal, she got to meet him and everything, and things just rolled from there, and the rest is history. 37 years now, and it's great history. Our years of marriage, not one year has been repeated the same. Women of God, Sarah was called to go out, and the next time we meet, I want to just say Sarah was a mother of nations. That was, you would hear more about that. She was the wife of Abraham at the time, and guess what? She was barren. She could not conceive. And a word came to Abraham that God was going to bless him. We'll talk about that in chapter 12. But I just want to say that when Daddy calls you and embraces you to himself, and he says, this is what I want you to do, my daughter. This is how I want you to walk. We have to be willing to obey him. And so we need to have a relationship with him. It is so important that we have our personal one-on-one relationship with Daddy. So the different places, because we are his workmanship and we have been created for good works, when we become born again, you've got a destiny that you will fulfill as you obey him. And in Psalm 139, verse 16 is another one of my verses where it really speaks to where we are, in the sense of what? That verse speaks to before you were even formed, before you were formed in your mother's womb. No matter how you were formed, the fact is that before you were formed in your mother's womb, your eyes saw me when I was formless. All my days, yes, all our days, ladies, were written in your book and planned before a single one of them begun. Today, I want to encourage you. No matter where you're walking, no matter what you're going through. Psalm 139, verse 16. Read verse 15. I want you to know that you were made on purpose for a purpose, according to Dr. Tony Evans. That's one of his hope words. And I want to leave that word with you today. You were made on purpose for a purpose. And so because I am his workmanship, and the Lord, just because in one of my times with him, he said, read that passage, find out about Sarah. Sarah has been a lifelong teacher for me because I'm a lifelong student. I love the Lord. I love to study. I love to write. I love to journal. Ladies, I want to encourage you today. No matter what season of life you're in, your days were formed before you were ever thought of. It was planned. So look up. Look up. And then look in. Look up again. And say, Daddy, I want what you want for me. I want to be who you want me to be. I will talk with you tomorrow again as we continue to learn some more about Sarah, my lifelong teacher of the word. Bless you. Remember to subscribe and share with someone if this is really encouraging you. Bless you from Sarah's daughter, Cheryl.